Hello, this is David Glenn here. Gonna do something slightly different tonight for a training video. I'm going to focus on QGIS. This is QGIS version 2.2.0. It is commonly used as a tool to develop maps for navigation systems, and basically I've had a request to show how to make a shapefile that is coordinated with a map. And for this one, I got this US Geological Survey map of March Air Force Base. I think was shot maybe around 1960 or so. If you look around here, you can still see the B-52 bombers that SAC once had stationed here. I think there's some also over here as well. These were the bombers that in a moment's notice were to fly off and deliver their payload to the targets. Nowadays, March is a Air Force Reserve base, and it's hardly used for any active military outside of the California Air National Guard. But so it's pretty safe to do experimentation on this. It's definitely not classified, so I can go and practice on this and publish it at will. I'm going to start by showing you what I've done so far. I have basically one of the tricks that I use is to in some of the programs that I work on is to make runways more visible, and we do that using shapefiles. And this is an example of one that I have made for this airfield, and you can see it right there. The only thing I haven't done is I haven't finished this up yet. I'm going to show you how I made this, what you see here, and I'll get right to it. First, we'll try to center it so we can zoom in, and I'm going to start by setting up, since these are made up of individual shapefiles, each element here, so they can all interact and without having to go through some fancy punching of holes and stuff. I figured that I'd make it simple, because you would want it to be as simple as possible as far as making it yourself. So I kept it simple, deliberately kept things simple. And I'm going to go down over this corner here, and there's a little thing here that says new shapefile layer, and I'm going to hit that, and it's going to come up, and I want to make a polygon. I'm going to leave this exactly the way it is, and I'm just going to name it just for the sake of naming things. And let's see, I think we'll call this let's call it taxiway. I don't think we have a taxiway 2, so we'll make a taxiway 2. And I'm going to go ahead and grab that, do copy, Make sure I'm on polygon, because if you don't, you get points, and we don't want to show points here. We want to show polygons. Now it's going to ask me what I want to make it, and I start myself for runways. I start everything off with the name of the runway and then what it happens to be. And so I'm going to go in here and just borrow one of these and go down to March, and I'm going to go do a Control V, and it'll say taxiway to capitalize the T in taxiway because it's consistent with my other markings. There. And you will see a little thing appear right here in our layers page, our layers window. We're ready to create our shapefile, and we'll go up here with, this is sort of like the shapefile editing section of this tool, and I will go over here and I'll hit the pencil over here, and that will put us into drawing mode, and you see that this turns into a pencil. I got a thing here that's kind of like a blob that says add feature, which I'll go ahead and do so. And then I will go in here and you can see my mouse icon has turned into sort of like a target, and I could go in here and go plunk. I'll just go plunk, 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 and then I'll hit my right mouse button, and this attributes window will pop up, and it'll ask me for an ID, and I just give it a number because that's what it expects, and I'll call it 1. So I've made my shapefile. I haven't saved it yet, but it is there in memory. And one of the first things you'll notice that it's a polygon. It's made out of points. I got it a certain color. I can go in and change the color if I want. I think I'll go ahead and do so by clicking on the March taxiway 002 over here, and a window will come up, and I can go ahead and paint it black. And this will not reflect the color or the ultimate end color in the drawing, but what it will do is it will now I just do it for aesthetics here, because one of the things that I tend to do with shapefiles is I am able to integrate those into map textures, which I can also use them for fills and a few other things where I don't have data, like in oceans. And I usually like to paint them the color that I'm going to that is going to be popular for the use that I have for it. And if you look real close, and I'll zoom in to one of the areas, you will see that I have these little arrows over here, or these little X's over here. I can go over to here and hit the Vertices tool, and I can grab onto this and move this around like so, and adjust this. I'll even go in here and where I think this should curve in like a runway. I will click this once, and what it will do is it will select these two vertices here, and then I'll click it roughly where I want to put another vertices right here, and I'll just click it and it will appear. Double click it, pardon me, and it will appear. I'll also do the same thing the other side. Click it, double click, and another vertices appears. So now I can grab this. I can pretty much figure where the turn is, where the little curve is in this in this little taxiway, and move this thing accordingly. And I think that'll be fine for here. And the same thing with this. I'll pull it back and see where the runway is at, and then I'll probably go over and put this here, and I'll grab this and I'll probably bring it out here. And I want to kind of round this, because runways, if you ever go into an airport, runways, they don't seem to be on angles, they tend to be on curves. And I want to make mine accordingly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on here to make a third, to make another vertices. I'm going to bring that down a little bit, like so. And then I may grab one here and bring it down a little bit, and put one here and bring that down a little bit. And now you got this nice little curve that just looks, aesthetically, just looks a little more pleasing. I'll do the same thing with this runway. I'll click this. You see two blue, double click, and another vertices will appear. Bring this down, and I think roughly there will be fine. I'm going to go ahead and make another one over here, just bring it in just a little bit, and same here, bring it in just a little bit, and you got this nice curve for this runway, and it just looks like, for this taxiway, and it just looks perfect. And so I'm going to go back and grab, let's see, one of these center button. Zoom in on this, and I'm basically going to do the same thing. I'm going to go here and select this and double click to add one here, and then select this and double click here, so add one there. And I'm going to go over to here and I'm going to grab this one and bring it back and take a look and say, oh, I need a little more, oh, that's too much. Bring it back roughly here. And then I'm going to grab this and split it, and bring it over. I'll bring this down so it'll be a little smoother over here. And then I'll bring this like so. And another one, just bring it just a little bit. And that kind of follows a curve which your atypical runway would have. I'll do the same thing here. Bring this back, figure out where the runway actually ends. I think it ends here. I'm going to grab this, add one here, bring it out. Grab one here, bring this along over here. And one for here. I'll just smooth this out. It looks pretty effective. It's pretty much spot on. And that's how we generate runways for airports. Now, I will go over one of the last things I'll do. Of course, I'll unclick that, which all this turns from squares back to X's. And then for a final step, I'll do a save. Now I'll actually save the data to the shapefile. And then I'll hit the pencil again, and this will turn into a shapefile shape. And our runway is basically complete. And you just repeat this, the same step for the tarmac and the taxiways and the runway. And here, in this case, we only have really, well, we did have 2 runways here, but this one here is technically not functional. If you look down deep, you actually see some X's there, and that indicates that this runway is no longer functional, is not to be used as a landing strip. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to build this border. Now, borders could be used for many things. In the military, there's things like MOAs that this is commonly used for. And I'm just going to do the border around this. I'm basically going to mimic what I did here and show you how I did it. It'll be rough, quick, and dirty, but you know, it will make the point of how it's done. And I'll hit the center button again. I'm going to bring this so the whole area I want to do will be quite visible. And I think that's it. That's pretty much it. This is about as close as I dare go to that. I'm going to have a point here, here, kind of wrap around here, go over to here, over to here. This is where the 215 freeway is. And then I'm going to follow the 215 over to here, which is where the turnoff is for the airfield, and go from there back to here. And we'll start by going in, and we'll build another straight, put in another thing for new vector layer, and aka shapefile. Let me make sure I got this done right. Yeah, new shapefile layer. And it says new vector layer. Well, it is a shapefile. So I'm going to do line. I'm going to call this border line 002, just so I don't confuse it with the first one I made. I'll go ahead and grab it, copy. So when I got to name the file, after I click this, I can quickly name it. Call it March border line 002. Save. And you can see I prepared here to draw a line. So drawing a line is exactly the same way as drawing a polygon. The only difference is when you drew a polygon, you got an enclosed surface. Well, here you get just a line, and I'll make it a point to try to get the start of the line and the end of the line to connect as closely as I can. I'm going to do a very rough shot of it first, and then handle some of the details later. We'll start, of course, by activating the editor. That's what the pencil does. Thing switches over to a pencil. go and say add a new feature, which in this case it will be a line feature, and I'll get my little target and I'll pick this as close as I can get, go here, and I'll draw it all the way out to the little intersection here and click, and then I'll draw it all the way out to the 205 freeway and hit here, and then I'll go all the way down to here to the other end where the turnoff is to the airfield on the 215 here, and then I'll go back up to here, try to get as close as I can to this and hit that. Then I'll right click and I'll give it an ID, and the ID I always tend to give all the IDs as one. So there is my line, and just so it looks like something, I'm going to make it black, and I'll make it, gotta be a way I can make it a little thicker. Yeah, that'll do. And there we go. We've got a little thicker line. We can actually see the line in the camera. That's the main reason for doing that. And then I'm going to go in here and hit the vector tool again, and I'm going to go into here, and I'm going to grab this and I'm going to drag this down to here. So it's on top. One is on top of the other. In fact, I'm going to grab them. I'm grabbing at least one of them, and I'm going to drag this down a little bit. Then I'm going to drag this down a little bit over to here, because it's where the kind of where the road is. And so you grab that again. Do it as close as I can. And I'm kind of going along the road, which is what I want to do. Then we'll go over here to the other end. We'll kind of zoom in. I'm just going to drag this down to about here. This is where probably the chain link fence would be if there was one there. That's basically what I'm creating the border of. There's just the runway area, the restricted area for this runway, or what I would perceive as this restricted area. Same as here. And then last, I'll focus on this. This looks pretty good, but I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. Like right here. So that looks pretty good. Center mouse the train over, and I'm going to go down to here, and I'm going to put this curve into here. I'm going to start by hitting this and go double click on that, and then hitting this, double click on that, and I'll establish where this will stay, where the straight line will end. The curve will be done with this, and then we'll continue on with the straight line here. And then I'm going to grab this in the center and put one there, and basically I'm going to bring it up here. And then I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to drag this down here, and grab one here, put one here, put it up there, and kind of bring this down. Grab one, make one here, and kind of put it over here. And that's good enough for demonstration purposes. I'm going to leave it like that, and it looks pretty good when you look at it from afar. I'll turn that off, and and we'll go ahead and do a save for that layer and hit that, and we're basically done. So that, I hope, will give you enough to build simple shape files. And if you have all the coordinate systems done correctly in the QGIS, they should, and you have properly aligned georeference map data, you should be able to get by building shapefile data using this methodology. If you have any questions, please let me know. And that pretty much concludes this tutorial. Thank you.